the ring. When the fighters be fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ringside seat to the truth.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do. Oh, I do. Oh, I do. Mm-hmm. That's love divine.
Sometimes we mess around or play around.
And our original intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. As our forefathers, so do we. Al Fatiha, Al Fatiha, Al Fatiha. We open according to the All Sufyan and the 10 plus 1.
Mm-hmm. 101.
Oh, we got a big one. As they say, hit the lottery today.
Hey,
777.
woo!
3 times.
How sweet it is. That sounds sweet.
3 times.
Number 7 represents perfection.
We're in the 3rd chamber where we witness the head of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to use the title Demiurge because this is what the videos that will be coming forth will be bringing the name of. So the head of the Demiurge will be observed. Our title today is The False God Who Never Existed. Uh-oh.
Sound like somebody made something up.
We gotta let the truth be told.
Because we know people will lie. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Will lie.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that because what we up against
That's right.
is the lie.
That's right.
And all lies are illusions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Powered by our belief only.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. See, we finna get into it. The false God who never existed. Who is this?
That's right.
This is a big implication. This is a big implication right here. I hope you got your spiritual seatbelt on and you ready to ascend. The version of God we have been given is the false God. The world is worshiping right now as we speak the false God. Who created this false God?
Mm-hmm.
It began with Rome. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. Rome are the criminals who set forth an order and a charge to execute and crucify truth. And this is why the Roman nations founded the first church for the execution of the truth and rewriting the truth into a narrative of external salvation provided by the church. The biggest misunderstanding is that someone died for your sins. This is the biggest misunderstanding that have left the fragmented souls to look outside of themselves for divinity. And we must know and understand where this began in order to have the new age of light that we will be working, building from, and that's the light of wisdom. These are the true teachings that Asa'ah, Jesus, Jesus taught, not what we received from the Roman version and the Roman nations involving the New Testament. So the Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified. This was the teachings and this was the truth being executed.
That's right.
As they would say today, the death penalty. So the truth was given the death penalty, and instead of giving you the true teachings and wisdoms taught directly by Asa'ah, what we get is a fabricated version that's going to link us to a false god. Now, why was the crucified Jesus of Nazareth used as a bait for salvation? Remember, this is an action of divinity outside of yourself. So this is something big here. And this is in no disrespect, but this is in all respect to the truth. For seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. This was the truth that was written in the New Testament that was stated that will make you free. Before that statement that will make you free, prior it said, you shall know the truth. So it's something that was hidden that we must know and come to understand in order to know the truth. And then the truth was set and made you free. Now we're finna go deeper. We walking into the waters. Roman is the same understanding as Romans, or you see Manes. That's Romans, and you could pronounce that as Manes, Manesh, and these things come from ancient BC times when Roman was pillaging the lands for truth. So in literature, we want to bring forth what was not brought forth. So anything that was brought forth by the Romans is considered a false religion. We should be able to cognitively understand that if we know the history and the murdering of the foundation and the background of the church. The church didn't preach its way to the top. The church used convert or die when it came to Christianity. And this is documented history that you can review and is Googleable in these days and times. So we need to learn more of the Romans. Who are the Romans initially, and who gave them the authority to create new versions? And why did they create new versions? For the purpose of what? Let the truth be now revealed concerning the false prophet. We are under the assumption that the Bible came from God. This assumption that the Bible came from God, or the Bible is the word of God, this is the false God. This is what we have to understood that has been brought to us as a false religion in the name of the false God. So the Romans, as you know today, they went by names prior. So let's get a little familiar. Number 5, the false religion of the Aryans. Romans and Aryans. Aryans is an older name of their history of who the Romans are. So you know the Romans as the founders of Christianity. Before founding of Christianity, they had their own religions. And this was the religion of Aryan. Let's learn by Aryan. The wicked poison burst forth of Babel. These are the priests that came out of the Tower of Babel. You might know them in your as Nimrod in the game. This is correlation to something that's going to bring about a future salvation. This is ancient history before Jesus was even born. So now we're talking about they have a long line of history documented of death, murder, genocide, massacres, and mass exilation. All because of these false religions that have now converted itself into one as the predominant religion of the false hoods, Christianity. As we bring this forth, as we know from Babel comes all of evil. So all this is scripture. So this is what they didn't write in the Tower of Babel, to let you know. That the people that's known as Rome, people known as Aryans, we're going to come to know them as Jews, Judeans. These people had a great conflict with people called the Moab people. This is written out of history. What you have is after this is how Rome became Rome today. So when you're talking holy in front of a Roman Empire, or a holy in front of a Bible, or a holy in front of a Quran, this comes from a people who was holy. So we're going to just see a little bit. They don't tell you about this, but in history, Sargon the Great. This was your brother and sister who stood and fought as Joseph stood and fought against the evil of his time. So Sargon the Great was the first spiritual warriors of wisdom out of our ancestral line. So we're talking about after the death of Sargon, this is how Babel was formed. So after Ed Huncho was out the way, now as they say in the streets, they can set up shop. So now they can build a criminal enterprise. But we don't know this is in the name of religion. So this criminal enterprise became known as Babel. And Babel was formed as the new capital. And this is what we need to understand. These men of Babel, with all their wisdom, refused. The men of Babel refused to honor the one creator. This is how the false gods got in there. There's always been one creator until the men of Babel. Now, why did they refuse to honor one creator? This is why it's coming down to why you call on another name for external salvation. To get you to hate the one creator. We're going to go about 15 minutes, about 10 minutes, and then we're going to play a video of what is documented on the literature. So now they refuse to honor the one creator. 12, who are the men of Babel? Instead, they regarded themselves, the men of Babel, they regarded themselves as above all men. This is the problem that every soul is facing today. If you live in a state, your governor is saying they above all men. This is a criminal enterprise. How did they say they was above all men? As the priest of all priests. So now this got to do with matters of faith.
Yep.
If we don't understand this, it's going to be evident throughout the video. So this gives you a backdrop to what will be going on and not being said. Let's scroll down a little bit. So before the false religion was called Christianity, when the lands were in ruin, the priests of Babel seized control and formed the religion Mithra. Christianity was called Mithra. So the religion of Mithra and the religion of Christianity is one and the same. And if you knew the ritual, Mithra, the religion of Mithra is ritualistic. It includes baptism. It includes communion. It includes the Eucharist. These are ceremonies of magic that Jesus did not teach. He didn't ask you, or the Romans put the version, my bread, my body is the bread. That's ritualistic Mithraism coming and springing forth out of Babel. So this is why Babylon is considered and called the whore. Because they are whoring with your mind. As we say, mind. This is what they're doing to each soul through false religion. Now we have to understand the poison of the world, that's evil, begins from Babel. We don't have to look no further. As a timeline in history, all you need to know is, did it come from Babel? Now the sad part today, we'll find out that word Babel is the word Bible. So that poison have spread it all inside of our homes, so we know it's in our minds. Everything false in the world begins from Babel. The Tower of Babel is a false story. Nimrod. These are falsities. Adam and Eve. These are falsities coming from the priests of Babel, who wanted to rule and be above all men and be the priest of all priests, or say the Pope of all popes. So we see it in our day and time. All this is still in line. They are amongst us, but as the truth comes and seeps out from the love of our hearts, this vanity would disappear. Now we're going to scroll down. The confusion, when it said God is not the author of confusion, the confusion and curse of the world begins from Babel. Noah's Ark is a falsity. His children are falsity. Ham being cursed of falsity. Canaan being cursed. All of this is a falsity. Rewrote history, and we finna see in about 7 more minutes. 21. Babel still calls to corrupt and destroy today through the alliance white man and the scholars of the white man. The Romans, the spirits. 22. Believe nothing which has come from this terrible city. And this is what's handed to us as the Bible. Why you think it's nothing but terror going on in the Bible? That's right. And it's supposed to be a holy book. That disturbed me my first time. How is this a holy book and nothing but torture and terror throughout the start of Genesis? That's right. And sweeping you all the way through the Revelation. And then they sweep in this sweet honey, put the cherry on top with the crucifixion of Jesus for the saving the whole world for all of their sins. So we need to understand where this comes from. So hopefully we got a better understanding. Remember, we believe nothing that has come from this terrible city. For it is seated. My farmers know what I'm talking about. For this is seated in hatred of the divine. And arrogant priests who see themselves governors of the world, people who control the COVID situation, who see themselves as gods amongst men. Let's just say amongst his citizens. So you get a real clear picture. You can't just do what you want to do. But guess who can? The governors. That's right. President, all of them. Any one of your principalities, as they would say, they rulers of the false world. See, they done set up shop. They done set up a second shop, second base. The second Babel is Jerusalem. Look at this. The second Babel is Jerusalem. This is where all the wars going down at and for right now. So let's get to the true teachings. That they did not want you to know. This is why the Holy Prophet of America was executed. because the wisdom and the teachings that will liberate you see, these governors ain't nothing but priests. That's why they take an oath on the Bible. They plan these different costumes to play you and me. But let's see for ourselves what Esau, Jesus taught. So you see it for yourself. Number 12, and Jesus said, the Allah I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed with walls, nor hedged about with bounds of any kind. Remember, there's a hint. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And these are the teachings of that kingdom of heaven within you. It's everywhere. Can't be compassed with walls nor hedged with bounds of any kind. Check this out. 20, when men are afraid of Allah and take him for a foe, they dress up other men in fancy garbs and call them priests. 22, when man sees Allah as one with himself, as Father Allah, he needs no middleman, no priest to intercede. This is how you take your belief back. 23, he goes straight up to the Father or to him and says, my Father God, Allah. And then he says his hand in Allah's hands, and all is well. 24, and this is Allah. You are each one a priest just for yourself. See how the politicians been playing priest games on you?
Oh, yeah.
What a politician mean? One,
look out for his own and
come on with it. Now, you are a priest just for yourself. So now you governor and ruler of your own body, mind, and soul.
That makes sense.
And guess what? Sacrifice of blood, Allah does not want. So we're going to stop it right there. And we're going to go to our video.
The story you've been fed is simple. God, the Almighty, created the world, created humanity, and everything was fine until Adam and Eve screwed up. Then, thousands of years later, God sent his only son to fix it all. That's the version you get in Sunday school. But the real story? It's far more disturbing. It's radical. It's dangerous. And it's hidden in one of the most ancient and banned texts of all time, On the Origin of the World, a lost gospel from the Nag Hammadi Library, buried for nearly 1,600 years and unearthed in 1945. This ancient text reveals something the church doesn't want you to know. The God that billions worship today? He's not the supreme being. He's not even divine in the highest sense. He's an imposter, a tyrant, a fraud. And his name, Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth wasn't the first being. He wasn't the creator of everything. He was the mistake of a higher divine entity known as Sophia, wisdom itself. Sophia, in her desire to create, acted without the approval of the true, unknowable God, the eternal source of all. And in doing so, she gave birth to something imperfect, something twisted. Yaldabaoth, a being of immense power, but no wisdom, no understanding, and worst of all, no knowledge of his own origin. And here's the kicker, he thought he was the only God. Imagine that. A powerful, ignorant being suddenly emerging into existence, alone, confused, and believing that he is the ultimate authority. What does he do? He creates. He shapes the material world. He forms the heavens and the earth, not out of wisdom or benevolence, but out of arrogance. He makes angels and demons to serve him, rulers to enforce his will.
The ancient Egyptians understood that they could use
These are the
sound
governors
to
today.
reduce their weight and the gravitational effect.
Through
Posing as
archaeoacoustic
your
research, we are now close.
That's correct.
And then, he declares, I am a jealous God, and there is no other God beside me. Sound familiar? That's straight from Exodus 20 verse 5 in the Old Testament. The very words attributed to Yahweh, the God of the Bible. But according to On the Origin of the World, those words weren't spoken by the true divine source. They were spoken by Yaldabaoth, the false god, the usurper, the architect of this broken reality. And it gets worse. Yaldabaoth and his servants, known as the Archons, didn't create humanity out of love or a divine plan. They did it out of fear. Sophia, regretting her mistake, sent a fragment of the divine into the material world. A spark. A seed of the true God hidden inside humankind. And Yaldabaoth saw it. He saw that humans had something he didn't, something powerful. And he panicked. So what did he do? He tried to keep us blind. He trapped us in flesh. He set up rulers, laws, and religions to keep us ignorant. He made sure we worshipped him, obeyed him, feared him. And every time humanity got too close to the truth, he crushed them. The flood of Noah? That wasn't a righteous judgment. That was Yaldabaoth wiping out those who were waking up. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah? Not about
Who murder people awaken or awaken others. The awakeners don't murder themselves.
Sure don't.
So we talking about the priests.
Mm-hmm. And we know this for a fact because it's been done to us in America and all over the land. They call them so-called white folks.
And we went over the Bible Belt.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got all the origin. And now we see how all this came to fruition and why people believe in the external God.
sin, about rebellion. Every prophet, every mystic, every Gnostic teacher who spoke against him was silenced, erased, burned. And this is where Jesus comes in. Not as the son of Yaldabaoth, not as a sacrifice to save us from sin, but as a revolutionary, a messenger from the true divine realm, sent to wake us up, to expose the lie, to tell humanity that the God they serve is a tyrant and that the real path to salvation isn't obedience, it's
Is that not the image all black people was given?
That's right.
Come on with it now.
That's right.
Let's keep going.
knowledge. Gnosis. This is why the church erased the
Is that word in the Bible? Can anybody find the word
No.
gnosis in the Bible
I
for us?
don't remember reading that.
Can anybody find the word Sophia in the Bible for us? Because these things was erased and replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Peace and love.
these texts. This is why the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospels, and On the Origin of the World were hidden for centuries. Because if people knew the truth, if they realized that the God of the Bible, nothing more than a power-hungry fraud, everything would collapse. Let's cut.
Why Noble Drew Ali said this can be over by breakfast. This is so easy for the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is the truth that will make you free.
That's right. Mhm.
Love and wisdom.
Mhm.
Cut the nonsense. Ildabath wasn't just some accident, he was a problem. A cosmic error with delusions of grandeur. A mistake that refused to stay in its place.
Can you please just hear me out? No, all work management platforms are the same. They take forever to learn, and in the end, nobody uses them.
These white priest spirits.
Unlike every tyrant in history, the moment he got a taste of power, he started acting like he was the center of the universe. He wasn't the first. He wasn't the greatest. But he wanted to be. He needed to be. So he did what every dictator does. He built a system where he was the absolute ruler, where no one could challenge him.
Come on with it.
Build a system.
Build the system.
Democracy.
Oh, like awaken.
Oh, man.
We got the awakens with us.
Democracy. My.
Where he is the white man, what we call this in the South, white supremacy.
Yeah.
Where he make his law the supreme law
Yeah.
of the land.
Yeah. And somebody going around now making the order of the land now.
See, now
How
you'll know,
about that?
is this real or is this false? Oh, love and wisdom.
First, he surrounded himself with enforcers. The Archons. Beings he created to act as his divine mafia. They controlled the heavens, dictated the laws of the cosmos, and ensured that everything stayed exactly the way Ildabath wanted.
Air Force, Army.
These weren't benevolent angels looking out for humanity. These were spiritual prison guards, making sure no one ever figured out the truth.
Yeah.
Making sure no one figure out the truth. This all up to us.
Yeah.
These people been working this long since you came into existence
That's right.
to make sure you
That's right.
don't figure out the truth.
Yeah. I've been told, they told your father to shut his mouth.
Well, they tell them to shut their mouth. They love and wisdom. Mhm.
And when Ildabath looked at his creation, he didn't see a world of beauty and balance. He saw something deeply flawed, corrupt, and broken because it reflected him. That's why suffering exists. That's why injustice, chaos, and destruction define human history.
Catch that. For us, that's why suffering exists.
Injustice.
Exists.
Ask KJ family.
Come on with it.
They ain't see no justice yet.
Come on with it.
And the law took side of the crook. And we know that right here in Lowndes County. We ain't got to go to no other county.
Right. And remember our lesson when we did Christ. Christ means the suffering.
Right on.
So to believe in suffering, pain, agony, negativities, depression,
Yeah.
is to believe in Jesus Christ from the Romans.
Yeah. And one other thing, we do know that we've been terrorized. They talking about terrorism. We've been terrorized all over America by the same people.
And what's going to fix the terrorization?
You
Truth
yourself.
and wisdom.
Mhm.
You can complain all day,
All day.
but truth and wisdom will fix and stop your complaining.
Mhm.
This video and this lesson today for 2 hours is to liberate you and for you to know the truth.
That's right.
This has to do with self
Mhm.
and self-awakening.
Right on.
Not self, and self is asleep.
Right on. Right on.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
History. This world was never meant to be perfect. It was built on imperfection, ruled by a being who was himself the result of a mistake. But Ildabath's real crime? His arrogance. He wasn't just content ruling over his fabricated reality, he wanted total worship. And when he looked at his own creation, he didn't see creatures to nurture. He saw servants. So he made a declaration, I am the only God. There is none besides me. And that's when things got dangerous. Because if you're the only God, you don't need competition. You erase that threatens your power. That's why Yildabaoth made sure that everything in this world worked against knowledge. The entire system he built was designed to keep people blind, ignorant, obedient. Laws?
His system is built to keep you away from knowledge.
So that's why they crown him with the word president, so he can rule the land. Goodness gracious.
With knowledge. Now you ask the people, what do they know? They don't know anything of the origin of truth.
Sure don't. All they know is the Bible,
Which is Babel.
which is Bible. And we do know this for a fact, as we stand today. The Bible ain't fixed our problem at all.
As we see,
And that's a fact.
it can't. It's fixed the falsehood problem.
Oh yeah, that's who ruling and take our oath and rule and
It
run
fixed
the
the
world.
evil problem.
It sure does.
It fixed the wickedness problem.
Sure does.
It got to grow and spread
That's right.
from these texts, false texts,
Mhm.
from this false God that never existed. Who are people afraid of? Don't talk to me.
Oh, I know.
Talk to me online.
I hear you.
Who are the people afraid of?
I hear you. They afraid of the one that runs Capitol
And
Hill.
something in your mind that makes you go in fear. Who is that?
That's right.
We talking who, not what now. Peace and love.
Designed to control, not to liberate. Religions? Created to worship, not to question. Moral codes? Structured to instill fear, not wisdom. And when people did start asking
What's the beginning of wisdom?
Fear God.
Oh, come on with it.
They said in Christ.
See? They done sold us this false belief.
And I hear preachers preaching there from
Oh,
the
it's getting-
pulpit.
Right now. Right now it's being preached.
That's right. Today's Sunday.
Please, Lord of the universe, protect those innocent souls.
Yes, indeed.
Peace and love.
questions. That's when the destruction started. Every major catastrophe in human history, every purge, every massacre, every so-called divine punishment, it wasn't about morality. It wasn't about justice. It was about silencing rebellion. The flood? A reset button to wipe out those who were starting to wake up. Sodom and Gomorrah?
They
An
said,
execution.
Whoa. Oh, they put that back to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, you whoa. Oh, you got put back to sleep. You don't hear that no more. They amongst you for you not to know. See, it's this secret knowledge. Noble Drew Ali already delivered the first part.
Yep.
The second part was supposed to have you in the physical form. And that's what we delivering today. Peace and love.
Not of sinners, but of those who defied control. The Tower of Babel? A power move to stop humanity from uniting in knowledge.
Good.
The Arkans made sure that the truth stayed buried. And Yildabaoth kept playing his role, acting like he was some wise, benevolent ruler, when in reality, he was nothing more than an insecure fraud.
Who's doing that today? Who is that? Who is that today? We bring things into reality. We don't leave them in the myths.
Right on. Right on.
We practice reality, not mythologies.
It's them boys on the hill. It's them boys on the hill.
Hey, them boys we used to call
The Capitol Hill gang.
Hey, right from G7
Come.
to the 9 to the
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
to the pig.
And then they play the house game in the Senate game. Got to go before the house and got to pass a bill. Just look at the fraudulence going on.
See, that's what we call pig land. Now, this is what came forth. These swine.
On your behind.
This is who we can't let. We know where the devils was cast into the swine.
You swine. That's
So
what it
ain't
says
nothing
in the
but
book.
swine can be doing this.
That's right.
Pork eating,
Pork
swine.
eaters. Yeah. Mm. You would think that the people that read the Bible and heard the story of Jesus casting the demons into the swine, and yet they love to eat pork and swine. You know something wrong.
This how the knowledge, and look in the back, y'all, for my previous study, we got the eye of Lucifer,
Yep. The all-seeing eye.
the all-seeing eye, who's studying, who's staying awake.
Yep.
That eye's to put you to sleep.
Yep. Got the eye on the dollar bill.
This is all to put you asleep. Peace and love.
A God with a God complex. But here's the thing, he wasn't all powerful.
Turn your ideas into video with AI.
Thing.
Add your branding,
These same
customize
priests
yourself.
ain't all powerful.
He wasn't omniscient. In fact, he was downright stupid. Because while he was busy declaring himself the one true God, he realized that he was being watched. The true divine realm wasn't blind to what he was doing. They saw everything. And they weren't going to let him get away with it forever. So Yaldabaoth kept doubling down. He tightened his grip. He sent prophets to reinforce his laws, to scare people back into submission.
False prophets.
False teachers.
False prophet John, the
Yeah.
Baptist.
Yeah.
False prophet Paul.
Look at this.
False prophet Peter.
Look at this.
Let's keep going. Peace and love.
He made sure that anyone who questioned him was branded a heretic, a blasphemer, an enemy of God. And for thousands of years, it worked. People followed. They obeyed.
Thousands
God.
of years. And what we say this been going on 2,000.
Yeah.
This been in existence working, y'all.
This showed up here. This working right now.
Right now.
Right now. Right now. Right now. Right now.
Shout out Ada Great. Peace and love.
Caught in a trap.
Mm-hmm.
They bowed down and accepted his rule. Because what choice did they have? This was the only version of reality they had ever been given. But here's where Yaldabaoth made his biggest mistake. He underestimated the power of the divine spark. Because no matter how hard he tried, no matter how much fear he spread, the truth never fully disappeared. It survived in whispers, in hidden texts, in forbidden knowledge passed down by those who refused to be silenced. The Gnostics, the mystics, the rebels, people who knew that there was something more, something beyond the false god who demanded their worship. Let's talk about humanity. Not the sugar-coated version you were taught in Sunday school. Not the feel-good nonsense about how God created us in his image and how we were his most beloved creation. No. That's the cover story. The real story? Humanity was never meant to exist. Not the way we do now. Not as conscious, thinking, questioning beings. In Yaldabaoth's original plan, humans were supposed to be mindless drones, biological machines designed to serve, obey, and never challenge authority.
Who making drones?
Sugarcoat.
Sugarcoating. Sugarcoating. Who don't want us to wake up? Who ain't teaching you knowledge? Y'all always on TV, but ain't teaching you knowledge.
That's right. That's right.
Peace and love.
That's right.
He wanted servants, not equals. So he got to work. He and his Archons crafted the first human.
Service, not equals. You got to work in his knowledge. When you start getting into knowledge, you got to work your way. You don't become an instant equal.
That's right. That's correct.
So when he do open up a form of branch of knowledge, it's not for equality. It's for servitude.
But there was a problem. This thing they created? It wasn't alive. It wasn't intelligent. It was just a lifeless shell. A failed experiment. And that terrified Yaldabaoth. Because he had claimed to be the only god, the source of all things. But here he was, struggling to create something even remotely functional. He had power, but not the kind of power that truly mattered.
Cities.
He could shape matter, but he couldn't give it life. And that's when Sophia stepped in.
To give it life.
She saw what Yaldabaoth had done. She saw the twisted, imperfect world he had built. She saw the lifeless husk he had tried to call a man. And she did something that changed everything. She gave it the divine spark. In a single moment, Sophia infused the human form with something that Yaldabaoth never intended. A piece of the true divine. The real God. The source beyond this corrupted reality. A force that was older, purer, and
What just happened? A divine truth was given by a higher divine source that was never mentioned in the Bible.
Right on.
And this is why wisdom is mentioned as she, because she is the symbolic form of wisdom.
Yeah.
And that word wisdom is the word Sophia. Sophia. And this was taken out of every version of the Bible. That connects us to the divinity. See, we don't understand, but we be coming to understand as we listen if we're trying to understand.
That's right.
Peace and love.
and infinitely more powerful than anything Yaldabaoth could ever claim to be. And that was when everything spiraled out of control. Because the moment humanity received the divine spark, we became something dangerous. We weren't just flesh and blood anymore. We weren't just another part of Yaldabaoth's broken creation. We were connected to something greater. And Yaldabaoth knew it. For the first time, he was afraid.
Search for Taylor Brands to get that LLC next to your business name. Just go to their site, enter your LLC state, add your business name, answer a few questions.
He had built this world, set himself up as the supreme ruler, declared himself the only god, and now, suddenly, these creatures he had made had something he didn't. They had a direct link to the true divine realm. They had the ability to know the truth, to wake up, to break free from his control. And that was unacceptable. So Yaldabaoth did what every dictator does when faced with a rebellion. He cracked down. He locked humanity inside physical bodies. He trapped us in cycles of birth, suffering, and death. He made sure that from the moment we were born, we were bombarded with distractions, rules, and lies, anything to keep us from remembering who we really are. And then, he declared himself our savior. He flipped the script. He took the very thing he feared most, our divine spark, and turned it into a curse. He told us we were sinful, that we were fallen.
Told you were born in sin. Look how this is trickling. This is reality. People think today they are born in sin.
Yeah, that's right. And the preaching people preaching that from the pulpit. But I want to go back to what he said earlier, that the day of birth, he set a trap.
Birth certificate.
Birth certificate and the social security number, that's your barcode.
That's what lead right to it.
I don't mean no harm.
Go need something important right now. They tell you your birth certificate.
That's right. And then they'll tell you right now if you're transacting any business, they want the last 4 digits of your social security number.
Yeah. And then try to go get your original.
You can't get it.
Sound like not equal.
And I'd like to know what the hell he doing with my original.
That's what we're
If
saying.
I can't have it, why I got to have a copy?
Since
Is that
birth.
the truth or not? Since birth.
That means
The trap was set.
the trap was set. For all of us to never know the truth.
Right, that's right.
This system is well built.
It's well built and well done.
You wouldn't almost know it if you don't know the truth.
That's right.
Peace and love.
Man, come on with it.
That we were unworthy,
Ain't getting good.
that the very essence of the divine inside us was somehow wrong. And humanity believed it. For thousands of years, we've been conditioned to see ourselves as weak,
Humanity
broken, and
believes
dependent. We've been told
And
that our
still some of us believe it today. I hope it's like,
I hope the sister listening.
I hope love is listening to love and wisdom. Our only path to salvation coming up, y'all.
only path to salvation is through obedience, through following rules set by the very being who enslaved us in the first place.
That our salvation depends on us being obedient to our slaveholder.
And I just got to say this, if you don't mind. In the Bible, he translated and wrote, slave, obey your master.
There you go. Don't say no more. In the Bible,
What more?
it's written, peace and love.
But the truth is that we were never meant to be slaves.
Uh-oh. What did the divine creator say?
It's in the soup. It's in the soup for you. That says, it said this, and I'll quote it, that no man is a slave unto any other man. And that sure
See,
makes sense.
this is how we know when we stepping into
And that
divine
sure
wisdom.
makes sense to me.
Uh-oh. This is it's getting good. Let's pay attention.
We were never meant to worship Yildabaoth, to bow before his fabricated reality, to live in constant fear of judgment and punishment. We were meant to be free. And that's why the war for humanity's soul began.
Love, truth,
Because
peace,
once the divine spark was inside us, once we had the potential to
peace,
wake up,
freedom, and justice.
Yes, right on.
See, this was kept away from us.
Yeah. And then
the
what really gets me is that they are going out and make movies and instill this in us, like 12 years of slavery. Like you said, you went to school 12 years, didn't you? And then they make the movie Driving Miss Daisy. You see what's going on here?
The demiurge,
And then they
the
get
priest at work.
people that look like us to play the part. They make millions and they sell these concepts and the ideas to the people.
And that's
people
why the
pay
greatest-
money to go see these movies.
That's why the greatest trick is your family. These the people that convince you that it's real.
Sure enough, do.
Because they've been convinced it's real.
Santa Claus,
So, who-
Easter coming up.
This where it starts at.
And by the way,
Santa Claus.
if anybody been in the store today, no matter whether you go in the grocery store or Walmart, they got Easter baskets and Easter bunnies all over the place.
It's in reference to Mithraism.
Yes, sir.
They remember we was reading about March. The Ides, the full moon of Lucifer.
Yeah.
It would change from March to August. See, and this is what all going down. They worshiping Mithra. The Romans never changed, they just covered it up. And now Mithra name is Jesus Christ. But we're going to figure this out. Peace and love. Keep listening.
battle lines were drawn. Yildabaoth would do everything to keep us asleep, to keep us in fear, confusion, and ignorance. Let's talk about the biggest lie in human history, the one moment that set the stage for thousands of years of manipulation, fear, and control. You think you know it, right? The first sin, the fall of man, the deception of the serpent. It's been drilled into your head since childhood. But here's what they don't tell you. This story was flipped, rewritten, weaponized. The real version? It's not about disobedience. It's about liberation. In Yildabaoth's system, humanity was never meant to think. The moment he realized that humans had a
Think. You will save yourself.
That's what nobody Drew Ali said, the divine.
Now you see why our beloved, before we come to the manifest, was knocked off the clock. But guess what? The wisdom and the truth stayed for us.
Still rising from that.
And now he already awake. We gotta awake.
Right on.
Just like all those who came before awake.
Right on.
Peace and love.
Divine spark, he knew he had to keep them blind, ignorant, and powerless. So what did he do? He created a prison disguised as paradise, Eden. Eden wasn't some utopian garden. It was a control mechanism. A beautifully designed cage where humans had everything they needed except knowledge.
Good.
They were kept in a
Do not eat
Do that not
from
sound
the
like
tree.
today?
Yes, indeed. And they
Have
said,
everything you
do
want,
not
but
eat,
knowledge.
and was told to do not to eat from the tree of knowledge. Good. Look at that picture. Look at that setup.
That's the saddest part for me.
Look at that setup.
They have everything they would want, but knowledge.
And I know why.
This is where we at today.
Yeah,
Everybody got everything they want,
that's right.
but they have no knowledge.
knowledge. They have fine homes. They have fine clothes. They got fine automobiles, and they sending their children to all the fine universities, and none of it pertaining to true knowledge. My.
That's called a well-built system.
My.
Peace and love.
state of enforced innocence, a permanent state of obedience, with no concept of what was really going on. They weren't even aware of their own potential. They had no idea that they were more powerful than the God who ruled over them. And then comes the biggest plot twist of all time. The villain of the story was actually the hero. The serpent, the one who has been demonized for thousands of years, wasn't some evil tempter. He wasn't working for the devil. He was doing the one thing Yaldabaoth feared the most, waking humanity up. The serpent was an agent of Sophia, the divine force that had given humans their spark of true divinity. It was sent to do what
The most feared thing for people to wake up, for somebody to be waking people up.
And look at the trap that they set right there in the Bible from the get-go, and that the serpent caught Eve away from Adam.
Mhm.
There you go.
It all makes sense.
It all makes
If you doing the necessary awakening, it will all make sense. Peace and love.
no one else could, to give humanity the knowledge that had been stolen from them. And how did it do that? By leading them to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the one thing that could break Yaldabaoth's control. Think about it. If Yaldabaoth was truly a good god, if he really wanted what was best for humanity, why would he forbid knowledge? Why would he set up a test designed to
Why
keep
would
them
the
ignorant?
white man forbid knowledge in his system?
And we do know for a fact that once upon a time, the so-called Negro wasn't allowed to read nor write. And it was a law they drawed up. Anybody get caught teaching a Negro how to read or write was going to jail.
Then I say the stuff, the truth changed my life. And this is why you won't see me doing what others do.
Me neither. I'm done.
When you awaken, it ain't nothing else. It ain't nothing else lesser that's gonna attract you.
That's right.
When you been
That's
asleep
right.
and you been dreaming,
That's right.
and you finally wake up and know and be aware of your own existence,
I have no desire for none of that stuff.
you ain't got no desire for anything lame and false.
Was there any evil in the garden before Eve
That's a good point.
grabbed the apple or whatever?
You read the story, it wasn't.
That's right.
So why would Eve need to know what evil is if there is no evil? That's the question I have. Because most people don't know, they won't commit things if they don't even know the reason at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. Being ignorant
Right
on
on.
the backside of it. They won't do it.
It's a trap to being set. That's
Mhm.
a good question.
The writers was translated.
Yeah.
These are false texts and false
Yeah.
scriptures to confuse your mind, but give you a little simple glimpse of something greater. We get into it.
ignorant forever. It's simple because knowledge is power, and Yaldabaoth couldn't afford for humanity to realize the truth. So what happened? Eve took the fruit. She chose knowledge over ignorance. She made the first act of rebellion against the false god. And Adam followed. In that moment, everything changed. Their eyes were opened. They saw reality for what it was. They realized that they had been trapped in a lie. That Yaldabaoth wasn't the supreme god, it was a fraud. A jealous, insecure tyrant who had kept them in the dark because he feared what they would become. And what was his reaction? Rage. Fear. Panic. The moment Adam and Eve gained knowledge, Yaldabaoth knew he had lost control. He couldn't allow them to spread the truth.
Building your online business? Go to Wix.com and set up your store on a single integrated platform. Add products, showcase them dynamically, and seamlessly track your inventory. Accept multiple secure payments, and design down to the very last detail. Get all the tools you need. Drive more sales with customizable gift cards and flexible product subscriptions. Retain customers with a point-based loyalty program, email automations, and reach millions with sales channel integrations. Complete your setup with a personalized analytics dashboard. Make smart business decisions and shape the next phase of your business. Build, manage, and grow from one place. Go to Wix and launch.
So he did what all tyrants do. He punished them.
What was evil that God did before she took the fruit? But I just say that part. It was in the Bible. What was in the Bible that was evil that he did or caused him to be a tyrant? In
The
their
serpent.
eyes.
With the serpent.
Adam and Eve, it was saying like they knew that Yaldabaoth was a tyrant, was this, was that. But what was it that was done before that they looked at to say, okay, he's a tyrant?
The non-eat.
No, even just telling
Not to touch the tree.
Not to touch the tree.
Mhm. That was to forbid knowledge, to keep you ignorant. So it was ignorance and knowledge. And once they did the opposite of what they said, they became wise.
Because they were like Humpty Dumpty sit on the wall before they found out. So they had them right where they want them. The same thing applied to our people today. They got them right where they want them. All but the one who.
And trying to figure this stuff out. This is over and dead with.
Yeah. And
The plain truth, I done said it plenty of times.
Yeah.
And then the text is constantly repeating itself,
Mm-hmm.
telling you what it is. We have the truth. I'm just
Yeah.
watching a reason of why people think the way they
They
think,
do, that's right.
not knowing the true aspect of their own existence
That's correct.
due to schooling and all the things that come up with upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
If the people around you play and they ignore, you're gonna be played and
That's
ignored.
right. And do the same thing.
Your goal, this is why you wanted to get older. This is why when you was a child, you felt you could not wait to grow up. It's not so you can get a car, clothes. No, that was so you can make your own decisions.
Beautiful.
Plain period.
Beautiful. And that was the main.
And that was your reason of
that's
saying
right.
you were grown.
That's right.
That you have made, you can make up your own mind.
Now you got your own mind now. Mom and daddy don't have to tell you what to do no more. You couldn't wait.
So now let's upscale that to the government.
That's right. That's right.
If you do that to your parents, you better be able to do that to the government.
That's right.
And these people ain't even your parents, and they
There
hate
you
your
go.
parents, and
There
they
you
don't,
go.
and they hate you,
There you
and
go.
they hate what you come from,
There you go.
and don't want you to wake up and just love you to keep serving the cow.
There you go.
We serving the cow, y'all.
That's
That's
right.
backwards.
And one more other thing, the system that they have us under, they make all the decision, if you notice that. When they on Capitol Hill, all you see is they're kind. We have a few spots in the milk, but they're calling all the shots. It's time for us to take back our own mind. We call our own shots.
It made me just blurt out. I done already did all that.
Right on. The majority.
Sometimes this is why I feel it's not worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because people just don't understand, no matter how many times you come in front,
that's right.
You say it,
that's
you
right.
repeat it,
that's
your
right.
mind is fucked up.
That's right.
And I ain't got nothing to do with it.
That's right.
I fix my own fucking mind.
That's right.
And if you don't got enough courage to fix yours, search knowledge and to figure this out for yourself. I can't relate to you if you're not willing to read these texts to figure out for yourself, or you willing to find the truth for yourself. I didn't get this from no man. This came from awakening from within. As all the divine wisdom state, you are that deity. I don't associate partners with my divine creator. I am that. This is what has been torn and ripped from your soul.
Right on.
And it annoys me when the soul don't know itself and speak about others as is greater and not equal. Don't nobody got a power over you, at least me. I ain't even finna talk for you. Ain't nobody got no power over me. I don't care what they, them, you, hey, Sus do. When I came to this truth, it's for me. So when it comes to understanding what you must do it for yourself. Ain't no government, ain't no man gonna stomp and stick they self out to lose their own life to save yours. That's dumb. You better wake up now. You don't see the industry, the music industry, they dying, going to jail, and everything getting set up.
That's right.
All in front of your face. Everything is fake and fraud. The young generation, if y'all follow this foolishness that was planted before y'all got here, and not accept this divine truth to liberate yourself, not to go pick up a gun, not to go join a gang, not to go join anything, but understand yourself.
I don't want it, seems like to me.
That was it. And this is why we must understand. It's on us. It's on us.
I know what I'm gonna do.
If it ain't on you, then the government already ruling.
That's right.
They gonna keep ruling.
That's right.
But the thing you gotta answer is, you came from that divine source.
That's right.
And you know that within. And so we don't keep up the time because we got another video.
He threw them out of the garden, not as an act of justice, but as an act of revenge. He cursed them, cursed the earth, cursed everything, just to make sure that the price of knowledge was suffering. He turned their awakening into a sin. He made sure that for generations, humanity would see this act of liberation as the greatest crime ever committed. He rewrote the story so that obedience became virtue and questioning became evil. And it worked. For thousands of years, this false version of the story has been drilled into human consciousness. People worship the very being who enslaved them and demonize the force that tried to free them. The real story, that the serpent was the hero, that the fall was actually humanity's first step toward freedom, was buried, erased, labeled as heresy. Now, let's talk about the real Jesus, not the sanitized, church-approved version, but the radical, dangerous, and rebellious figure that history tried to erase. Because if you're still thinking of Jesus as the obedient son of a vengeful God, sent to die as some kind of cosmic sacrifice, you've been lied to. Jesus wasn't here to submit to Yaldabaoth. He was here to expose him. You think about Jesus, and what comes to mind? The Messiah? The Savior? The Son of God? That's the version Rome gave you, a politically safe, obedient Jesus who preaches love, turns the other cheek, and reinforces the authority of God. But if you dig deeper, if you go beyond the edited, state-approved gospel, into the forbidden texts that the church tried to bury, you find a completely different story. Jesus wasn't the son of Yaldabaoth. He wasn't his servant. He was his enemy. The Gnostics, those early Christian rebels who saw through the lie, didn't worship the God of the Old Testament. They knew exactly who Yahweh really was. That's why they described Jesus not as a sacrifice to appease God, but as a messenger from the true divine realm, sent to wake humanity up. His mission wasn't to die for your sins, that's the version the Roman Church invented to keep people submissive. The real Jesus? He came to tell you that the God you're worshipping was a fraud. Look at what Jesus actually said, not the parts that the church emphasizes, but the words they ignore. The kingdom of God is within you. Not in a temple. Not in a church. Not in some priest's hands. Inside you. In your consciousness. In your understanding of the truth. That is exactly what Yaldabaoth feared the most, humanity realizing that we don't need an external God because the real divine force was already within us. Jesus knew the game. He saw how this world was built on deception, how the rulers, the archons, controlled humanity through fear, laws, and religious dogma. That's why he attacked the religious leaders of his time. That's why he broke their laws. He knew those laws weren't divine, they were chains designed to keep people ignorant. When he healed the sick on the Sabbath, that wasn't just a miracle, it was an act of rebellion. It was him saying, your rules are meaningless. Your laws are not divine. When he told people that they were the light of the world, he wasn't just being poetic, he was telling them exactly who they were. They weren't sinners. They weren't fallen. They were fragments of the true divine, trapped in Yaldabaoth's prison. And his entire mission was to set them free. And that's why he had to be silenced. The religious elites of his time? They weren't just corrupt priests. They were the agents of the system, enforcing the rule of the false god.
With Georgia Registered Agent, you have experienced local experts on your side. Because we own our own office building right here in North Atlanta, our core registered agent and business formation services are just flat out better. How so? It's simple, really. All of our clients get free use of our permanent building address. And that means when you hire us to form your...
They saw what Jesus was doing, teaching people to think for themselves, reject the false laws, and remember their divine origins, and they knew he had to be stopped. So what did they do? They branded him a criminal, a heretic, a blasphemer. They handed him over to the Roman authorities, the very empire that later twisted his teachings into a tool for control. They made sure that his message, the real one, was buried under layers of doctrine, obedience, and submission. And the cross? That wasn't a divine sacrifice. That was an execution. The same way Yaldabaoth wiped out anyone who questioned him before, he tried to eliminate the one man who was exposing him. Let's talk about control, because that's what all of this is about. Control of your mind, your soul, your very existence. And at the center of it all, the false god, Yaldabaoth, doing everything he can to keep you from seeing the truth. Jesus didn't just show up to deliver some feel-good message about love and kindness. He came to challenge the authority of the one who had enslaved humanity for thousands of years. And that authority wasn't just spiritual. It was political, religious, and deeply embedded in the system itself. The God of this world, the one who demanded worship, obedience, and fear, wasn't the true source of creation. He was the architect of the prison, the one who set up the laws, the punishments, the cycle of suffering. And the most dangerous thing Jesus ever did was telling people that they didn't have to obey him. He called him out directly. Look at his teachings, really look. Every time Jesus speaks in the Gospels, he's not talking about the God of the Old Testament. He's talking about a higher source. A God of love, of freedom, of truth. And when the Pharisees, the religious enforcers of Yaldabaoth's system question him, he throws it right back at them. You are of your father, the devil.
Oh.
John 8 verse 44. That wasn't Satan he was talking about. That was Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, the false god. And he wasn't calling out random sinners, he was calling out the priests, the religious leaders, the ones who enforced Yaldabaoth's laws and called it righteousness. And what did they do? They turned the people against him. They couldn't have this radical, rebellious teacher telling people they were divine, telling them they didn't need to obey the god of the system. So they worked with the Roman authorities, the empire, the power structure that benefited from keeping people ignorant and submissive. Because here's the truth, religion and empire always work together. The rulers of this world, whether they call themselves kings, emperors, or popes, have always known that fear is the easiest way to control the masses. And the best kind of fear? Fear of divine punishment. So when Jesus attacked the system, they responded the only way they knew how. They made an example out of him. They arrested him, tortured him, executed him. Not because he committed any crime, but because he exposed the illusion. Because he told people the one thing that Yaldabaoth feared: you are more powerful than the god you worship. And the moment the system crushed him, they did something even worse. They hijacked his story. The Roman Empire, the very machine that executed him, turned around and created the Roman Church. They took his teachings, edited them, distorted them, and repackaged them into a state-approved religion. Instead of Jesus being a rebel against the false god, they turned him into his obedient son. Instead of preaching liberation, they made him preach submission.
It is no measure of sanity to be well-adjusted to an insane society. I was born in 1947 in Glendale, California, into a fairly...
Instead of showing people how to break free, they made him into a sacrificial lamb, a symbol of obedience to Yaldabaoth. And that's where Christianity as you know it comes from. It's not the religion Jesus preached. It's the system that killed him, rewriting the story to keep its power intact. The true message of Jesus, that was erased, outlawed, burned. The Gnostics, the ones who preserved the real teachings, were hunted down and exterminated. Their books? Destroyed. Their followers? Labeled as heretics. The Gnostic texts, the ones that were banned, buried, and declared heretical, paint a very different picture. In these ancient writings, Jesus wasn't just a man. He wasn't just a prophet. He was something entirely different, something that the false god, Yaldabaoth, could never control. To understand this, you have to realize what the Gnostics actually believed. Unlike the mainstream Christian idea of a single god ruling over all, the Gnostics saw reality as divided between the true, unknowable source and the false god, the demiurge, Yaldabaoth, who rules over this material world. And here's where it gets interesting: Jesus was never part of Yaldabaoth's creation. He didn't belong to this world. He wasn't sent by the Old Testament God. He came from beyond it, from the true divine realm, the Pleroma, a place untouched by the corruption of the material world. He wasn't Yaldabaoth's son, he was his undoing. And guess what? Even the idea of Jesus being born as a physical human is debatable in these texts. Some Gnostic groups, like the Valentinians, believed in the concept of Docetism, the idea that Jesus never had a physical body at all. That's right. They believed Jesus was never actually flesh and blood like the rest of us. Instead, he owned a fabrication, a tool, a way to keep you begging for mercy from the very system that enslaved you. Let's break it down. Christianity, as it exists today, is built on a false premise that you are sinful by nature, that you are spiritually corrupt, and that the only way to avoid eternal punishment is to submit to the system, obey the laws, and accept the gift of salvation through Jesus Christ. Sounds good, right? Except it's a trap. Because the whole sin narrative? It was manufactured. The Gnostic texts, the ones the church tried to wipe off the face of the earth, tell a very different story. They reveal that humanity wasn't created sinful. Humanity was born with a divine spark, a piece of the true source. But Yaldabaoth? He needed control. He needed humanity to be weak, fearful, and obedient. So what did he do? He created the concept of sin. He rewrote reality to convince people that they were flawed by default, that they were born in need of forgiveness, and that the only way to be redeemed was to worship him. It's spiritual gaslighting on a massive scale. Jesus didn't come to save people from their sins, because sin was never real to begin with. He came to save people from the lie.
Sin was never real to begin with. Christianity crushed overnight. If there's no sin, there's no need for salvation. So the whole front and plot of a salvation is for the trap and the lie that you believe in the concept of sin, rather than the concept you are divine. This is what we get into.
He came to show humanity that they never needed to bow to Yaldabaoth in the first place. That's why his message was so dangerous. That's why they had to rewrite him, turn him into a sacrificial lamb instead of a revolutionary. Because if people truly understood what he was saying, they wouldn't live in fear of divine punishment anymore. They would wake up, and Yaldabaoth's entire illusion of power would come crashing down.
Work today is broken. We're all working in too many disconnected apps, and it's killing team productivity. But for the first...
That's why salvation, as it's been taught for centuries, is just another layer of control. The real path to freedom? It's knowledge. It's awareness. It's understanding the truth about who you really are. And who you are is not a sinner. You are not condemned. You are not dependent on some external savior to rescue you from divine wrath. You are already divine. You already have the power within you. The same divine essence that Jesus carried? It's in you. It's always been in you. And the only thing stopping you from seeing it is the system designed to keep you blind. That's what the real war has always been about. It's not about good versus evil. It's about knowledge versus ignorance. Awareness versus deception. Freedom versus control. And now you know. So what are you going to do with it? Because the system isn't going to hand you the truth on a silver platter. The religious leaders, the institutions, the power structures that benefit from keeping people blind and obedient, they aren't just going to step aside. They've spent thousands of years silencing this knowledge. And the only way out of the prison is to stop playing by their rules. The truth has always been there. Hidden. Buried. Whispered in secret by those who refuse to be silenced. And now it's in your hands. So what happens next? That's up to you. Thanks for watching.
That's up to you. After the truth been delivered to you, ain't nothing more that one can do except deliver the knowledge of self, who you really are. And this is who you really are. Number 9. Now, men, birds, beasts, and creeping things are deities made flesh. Jesus said. See, this is the true origin. What you would call the original Bible was called the Moorish Holy Quran. And this existed in BC time. What was brought forth to us existed in BC times. This is the knowledge that they wanted to wipe off of the earth. So you would be subordinate to a lesser external.
And you know, all I can think about all these are religious leaders. They stuff. Got people paying them their tithes money.
Right, and
all that. And they want to be in control. And that go for all of them.
Right, and number 5, they never teach that there are two selves. See, this is very important. This is what you'll never hear in a church. You'll never hear in a lodge. You will never hear in anyone that want to have control over you.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it's knowledge that's power, not what they telling you.
Mm-hmm.
If they ain't showing you the knowledge, or that knowledge you can feel in your soul.
Right.
I can feel in my soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's something, it's so divine
right.
that you just got to understand the wisdom. And that wisdom is of the truth. See, the two selves, this was the higher Sophia and the lower Sophia, the two selves. And the prophet of America brought us this ancient old time religion.
Right on.
And we got it more in rare form now.
Right on.
So as we got Sophia back in rare form, all Sufyan. Oh, it's cooking.
Oh yeah.
So I want us to watch this last.
Oh, come on.
Take on.
Come on with it.
It's more powerful than that. The two selves. They had no soul to give it life. What I call them the soulless spirits. No, they brought them up as a mascot. Those words indeed. Remember, Lord, you created heaven nor hell for man. Man sitting inside. Voice. See all this going on? Nah, the key is all this is the sufar that they speaking on right now. All those Ali. He already gave it. Themselves. why the name was so important. It was all these codes. All the names of all are. Take it to the end. I'll listen. What did they? We're gonna close in the divine name of the divine creator. As-Salam, As-Salam, all Sufyan. Suppose y'all. Peace and love. All watching.